Workshop 3 is the final piece of the puzzle. How you deliver the service to families. It's where we see a lot of firms fall short. They're sitting on a huge investment in people and property, but they don't put enough effort into turning them into a real funeral service delivery system. We studied the big guys like Disney and learned about how they managed their service delivery systems. It's not an art where you hope you can hire some really inspired performer with a lot of natural talent. It's a science. It's a disciplined business process that can produce consistent, memorable results day after day, year after year, with the kind of people you already have. One of your most important jobs as a manager is to build that customer experience, to design and decide what goes into that customer experience. That if management builds the experience, that customer experience in turn builds your brand, and the brand you build in turn builds your business. It attracts customers for you in the marketplace. That what will make people choose you is the promise of a better experience. Walt Disney built a hugely successful business based on the idea that he could raise the standard of quality in guest service and turn that into a competitive advantage. His belief was that if they applied entertainment principles to a hospitality business, they'd produce a guest experience that was enough better that it would be a competitive advantage for them. And they were pretty successful doing it. His famous quote, and every course you take at the Disney Institute, they will put this in front of you. A belief that quality tempered with good judgment and showmanship will win out against all odds. That's their core principle, and you see it built into everything they do. The idea is that if you build that quality in and then you use management tools to make sure that it happens, that's going to be a competitive advantage. Another thing that they do that I think is really applicable to funeral directors is they work with the idea of stereotypes. And this was a big deal for Walt Disney himself. One of the things that Disney talks about is the idea that stereotypes define people's expectations. And you have to think about this in the context of when Disneyland was first opened. At that time, compare your average Disneyland employee to somebody who worked at a carnival or an amusement park. All right? You familiar with the term carnies? You know what we're talking about? So it was a radical departure to give these people uniforms and training and to expect certain standards of behavior. Why did it work? Part of why it worked is because there was a stereotype for carnies. And playing against that stereotype made what Disney did that much more memorable, that much more powerful. The idea of identifying the stereotype, that's shorthand for identifying the customer's expectations. Because a stereotype shapes your expectations, right? And so all of those things kick in and they work instantly. There's a great book, Malcolm Gladwell, the tipping point guy that you were talking about before, Al. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Blink and talks about all the thought processes that work that enable you to make those judgments and capture all that information in the blink of an eye. Stereotypes are a powerful part of this. Disney used the idea of stereotypes as a way of capturing customers' expectations so that they could then play against this stereotype and exceed them. And so that's a powerful thing. There's some number I saw that said 44% of the companies in America have the words exceed customer expectations in their mission statement. One quick way to do it in the funeral business is to identify the stereotypes that people have because that defines their expectations and play against them. Play against them. What could you do that would make your service different from a stereotypical funeral? Or would make your people different from stereotypical funeral directors? If you made yourselves as different as possible, that would be a shorthand way to exceed people's expectations. It could be the standard of dress. It could be the music that you play in your funeral home. It could be that the place is not so quiet. Your people, place, and process are the universal service delivery tools that you use when you want to serve guests, serve families. And people, place, and process always define your customer experience. The question is just for better or for worse. If you've got the people, place, and process, then the trick is to break this up into manageable pieces, bite-sized pieces, so that you can apply your people, place, and process consistently. You've got a huge time window from drive up on the day of arrangements to drive off on the day of service, and that's too much to manage in one big piece. Those are all the unique experiences where service delivery can happen, where you can use people, place, and process. And what we do in the workshop on this is take each one of those and say, now what people, place, and process would make a difference there? As an example, think about the visitation experience. At your place, think about the visitation experience and the greeting. When people arrive for a visitation, what experience do they have? How much do you say to them? Seyler funeral to the left, Swedberg funeral to the right, bathrooms down the hall, right? Okay, you look like the guy at the airport with the orange flashlights. How could you use people, place, and process to improve that? Could you change what people say? Could you change the greeting they give and make a difference in that? Could you change where that greeting happens? Could you bring people farther in from the front door or closer to the front door to produce a more positive result? Could you give them some information at that point so that that interaction between the greeter and the family was something different? You're here for the Seyler funeral. Here's Mr. Seyler's biography. Family wanted you to have this. Could you change the nature of that to make that experience better? The answer is not just yes, but hell yes. Okay? You absolutely could make that experience better. And it would not have to cost you a lot of money to do it. And so that's the kind of thing that we're talking about, is how you can use each of those. Why does that register book have to be where the register book is now? We had one client where the register book was right outside the door to the chapel. Okay? Right where it belongs. Yes? Nod your head. Say yes. That's right where it belongs. Except that it's in a hallway that's 47 inches wide. When you sign a register book that's 36 inches off the ground, where does your butt go? Okay? What happens to that 47-inch hallway? It's gone. Okay? And so if it happens to be snowing outside, where are all those other people waiting? It's stupid. It's not thinking. It's not applying this science that we're talking about, people, place, and process, consciously to your business. And you could. Okay? You could. We could together. That's what this whole program is about, is how can we apply this science consistently to your business and grow your business as a result.